Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are in the world. I'm Mark Edwards, and this is the Channel Zone podcast. Now, today, I'm delighted to be joined by Shannon Muller, a Cybersecurity Advisor at Microsoft. Now, Shannon brings more than 20 years of experience in the cybersecurity sector, with a career spanning both deep technical expertise and commercial insight. She began her journey in sales back in the day with cyber detectives, then spent over 12 years at Symantec, which is where Shannon and I first crossed paths, followed by Juniper Networks before joining Microsoft 5 years ago as a cyber specialist. Now, alongside her professional work, Shannon is currently studying part-time for a master's degree in cyber law, something we'll explore a little later in the conversation, and that builds on her undergraduate degree in business, commerce and law, a combination that's particularly relevant today in the rapidly evolving security and regulatory landscape. There's a mouthful for you, isn't it? Security and regulatory landscape. I suppose those are words that come up an awful lot of the time if you're studying a degree in cyber law. Originally from South Africa, Shannon and her husband relocated to the UK a couple of years ago and remain passionate supporters of the Springboks. For the uninitiated, that is South Africa's national rugby union team. We're recording this episode in December 2025, just 4 weeks after the Springboks' demolition and emphatic victory over the Welsh national rugby union team. And Shannon has very graciously agreed not to mention it and certainly won't bring it up in today's discussion. So with that diplomatic agreement firmly in place, Shannon, welcome to the Channel Zone podcast.
Thank you, Mark. Wow, what a welcome. And let me just add, I did not bring up the Springboks Wales game. That was
You
not.
brought it up immediately. You've come straight in. That's a sucker punch you've gone for there, which I am impressed with. So I will follow it up then. I will ask the one question. Did you go to the game?
I did not, unfortunately.
Right. I didn't even watch it, fortunately. I'm pleased to say. I anticipated a demolition, but of such magnitude, no. That's one. It's one for the record books, actually, isn't it? So, moving swiftly on, and so I like to really, in terms of understanding and appreciating any guest on the show, I like to go all the way, wind the clock back to how they kind of got into whatever the role is, and so from your position, I'm intrigued, and I'm sure the audience would be also, in how you entered the sales world and how you entered the world of cybersecurity, if they're two separate worlds. How did it all
Mhm.
start?
Well, I think my story or entrance into cybersecurity was, let's say, I fell into it. A lot like a lot of people that I know that's in the
Mm.
industry, like a lot of people, couple of decades now. A couple is two, right? So
Yes,
that's right.
yes.
When cybersecurity was still developing, I think a lot of people didn't, unless you were directly had access to it or had people that had access to it. It wasn't a career or an industry that people really
Mm.
thought of. And so I did stumble into it. And I have to say, looking back more than, what is it, 20 odd years ago, probably close to
Yeah, you're
25
talking early
now.
2000s, I think, aren't you?
That's right. I feel like it's a career that I definitely have felt a lot of reward from. But yeah, to answer the question, I guess I definitely did not choose it per se. I did stumble into it, but glad that I did.
But because because that's twofold. That's cyber and selling, really. I often say, as you said, you could say you fell into it. I use the term. I say I failed into sales because as you might be able to tell by some of the bits and pieces behind me, I felt as a youngster I was destined for rock superstardom, which didn't kind of pan out. So I failed that career. Basically kind of passed me by, and I moved into selling musical instruments early on. So again, similarly kind of fell or failed into sales, but you landed on your feet getting into cyber in the early 2000s, whereas say that's all I can remember from back that era would have been Norton antivirus, I think, wasn't it? That would have been pretty
That,
much the main offering, which you could buy for £99.95 in a box with a CD-ROM. A very different
indeed.
period.
Indeed, and my understanding of what the security landscape was about was obviously tiny, very limited. And to your point, what were the offerings? It was a little box with a
Yes.
CD-ROM, and it was really building or I guess, working through an industry that was just starting off. The threats hadn't yet developed. A lot of people didn't really understand the significance of where it would go. And that, I suppose, is a natural evolution of technology as technology develops over time. And there's more risks and threats that come into the play, and so. Luckily, I guess I was surrounded by, a lot of folks that helped me along the way. That's how you develop in any career, isn't it? You do need people around you that can support your career and help you along. And started
Yeah.
off early doing the antivirus sales,
Antivirus.
but because that's all that was available. But
So you
then
were selling Norton antivirus then, were you? Or was McAfee around at that time? I think possibly.
it was McAfee was doing McAfee. We're doing definitely Norton Antivirus was the bigger one of the two. But yes, I have exposure to McAfee Antivirus, and I think
Yes.
Trend was also in the picture at some point
Gotcha. Gotcha.
in the early 2000s.
There were no, I'm assuming there were no CISOs at that point, no Chief Information Security Officers with a place on the board.
Definitely no CISOs at that point. If I can remember correctly, I would say the CISO role came around in about 2006, 2007, around there, maybe a little bit earlier. I can't remember exactly, but yes, definitely no CISOs at that point. And so you kind of sold to anybody in the IT operations
Yes.
department. If I think back at who would I have been reaching out to, it would have been the IT manager at that stage. And if you wanted to go a little higher than that, then, whoever that role would report into. CIO role definitely did not exist in, the same capacity as it does today. So yeah, it definitely has evolved. The roles have evolved, the players have evolved, and of course, with the new threats coming in to the landscape, then came the introduction of more technologies, and understanding what additional technologies are needed in order to support an environment in the best way.
This episode of the Channel Zone podcast is brought to you by In Connection, the trusted events agency to some of the biggest names in IT. In Connection knows that in today's fast-paced world, it's not just about delivering a return on your events investment. It's about delivering unforgettable experiences. Because some events fade within hours, while others become memories that are talked about for years. In Connection, the go-to event agency for the IT channel, creating memories that matter. I think it's wonderful to have that past. Actually, you were there at the birth, really, of the cybersecurity industry. I said I did work with Demon Internet back in 1996, and I'm sure one of the guys there went to work at Norton. So even there was stuff around in the 1990s. Mid to late 1990s, but I think it's great that you've been through all of that evolution, and I think it just gives you a great sense of appreciation for the environment that you work in today. So, and there you are, 25 years later, is Cybersecurity Advisor at Microsoft. Now then, how does that advisory role differ from, because when we would have met at Symantec, you would have been an enterprise sales manager, account manager in enterprise sales at that time. How has the role changed and evolved for you from being that, as I said, an enterprise sales account manager now to cybersecurity advisor? What's fundamentally changed, and in the market, and how and the way that you work with your customers?
Well, maybe just to take a step back, my official role at Microsoft is a cybersecurity specialist. And I am absolutely what we would call a seller in Microsoft, and what maybe my customers and partners would know my role to be. My LinkedIn profile says Cybersecurity Advisor because I would like to think that when I am selling, so to speak, I'm actually also first and foremost advising on the right solutions. I think in sales, too many times salespeople get branded, maybe, or not branded, but maybe given a tough time about the way, um, the process is driven. And I
Yeah.
know, I've been in sales now for quite some time, and I've come to realize that sometimes you hold that badge too proudly, too widely, and you kind of immediately have this banner over you that you are going to be asking for the checkbook and how big is the pot of money that you can get access to. And for me, it's really about, first of all, ensuring that the solution that I'm putting into a customer is what they need, into any organization for that matter. And so I think of
Mm.
myself as an advisor, and I hope that that's what I come across as first. And after I've advised, and the solution has been picked, then I get the sale. And of course, that's, at the end of the day, what the job pays me for. But I get more rewarded by from providing the advice before I do the sell, if that makes.
Yes. It does, and as I said, you're now dealing with a much more sophisticated compared to that customer, as I said, in the early 2000s, who was just looking for some antivirus. You now have a very sophisticated customer and a very sophisticated environment that they're operating as well. So as I said, I mean, I would put it down as a very, very challenging role. So, and yet you've succeeded at it, continue to succeed at it. Do you enjoy it?
I absolutely love my role. I have thought of changing careers, as you mentioned earlier about my cyber law degree. And, there's still some aspects of, or desire rather, of wanting to do that probably later down the line. Um, However, I find enormous pleasure from supporting, organizations, individuals decide and choose and understand what are the right technologies for their environment. And it's not always Microsoft who I'm working for, right now. That's not always the case. When I was at Symantec, it was the same thing. I think at the end of the day, it's about ensuring that you bring the right solutions and provide the right understanding. People will make up their own decision about what they need to bring to their organization, what is the best solution they need to finally decide on or purchase. But I think in ensuring that I've delivered what I need to, that is the understanding of the tech, why they should consider, ours versus another. I think that, part of sales is a huge part of sales is about ensuring that you deliver the, do you know what you're actually solving for?
Yeah.
Do you, understand what it is that you are buying a specific thing to accomplish? And sometimes I think, a lot of the messaging gets lost in I need to, meet a deadline, or I need to close this technology gap. And so it's not really looking to solve a business problem. It's more looking to just close off a technology or a deadline.
Yes, yeah, but I think what I'm picking up from you, as you said, in the role of advisor, but it sounds like a very, very consultative process, and I'm sure your customers do appreciate it. So I can't remember how many years has it been since you moved from South Africa to the UK?
It's been almost 4 years. So in
Right.
next year it will be 4 years.
Right. So, having made that move from South Africa to the UK 4 years ago, can you tell us what differences do you notice in how organisation do they approach cybersecurity differently in the UK to how they would have in South Africa? And then also, having made that transition, what about yourself? How have you had to adapt maybe your own style, your approach as well? How is that regarding that change?
Well, let's talk about cybersecurity first. I don't think that there's any difference in the requirements around cybersecurity. Obviously, different countries have different, geopolitical situations happening, different regulatory compliance that drives, the need or focus, for technology. But, in the age that we're living in, the age of AI, that is, of course, a lot of the discussions around cybersecurity is very much centered around AI, is what I'm seeing at the minute. It's not the only thing, but it's obviously a big part of the conversation.
Yes.
Um, I think at the end of the day, from a cybersecurity perspective, the discussions are very similar. Um, what what I was really concerned about, let's say in the beginning, was culturally. I speak English, of course, but is would people in the UK understand my English? uh, and or my South African version of English, and some of the nice little sayings like the nice. Where does nice fit in? So that was a little bit of a concern for me.
Yeah.
Naturally, I was worried about how would they perceive me to be. Can I really present the solution and the technology in a way that would um, be understandable. Would I
You were
bring?
worried, were you? You were concerned about that before coming. That was a concern.
There was a real concern. The other real concern was, I suppose, a little bit of imposter syndrome in terms of whether, I'd be able to present my experience in a way that people, thought, is what is she talking about? What is she saying? Does she completely get this industry? Would some of the concerns that worked in SA, some of the concerns in cybersecurity, would that still apply? And I found that all of that was still very true.
Yes.
And culturally, a lot of people were, well, still are very empathetic. I have to say, the concerns that I had were not real concerns.
Yes.
People understood me even through some of my a little bit of accent. A lot of people actually didn't realize that I was from South Africa. A lot of people didn't know what country I was from, or even if I wasn't from the UK, which was
Yes.
a surprise.
Yes.
And I think at the end of the day, sometimes we want to be a certain way because that's what we think is required. But I think in being yourself, and just, presenting who you are and being authentic, I think being authentic is probably the main way to
Yes.
the best way to be.
I agree.
And people are not always going to like you, even in your own country. So, the reality is that's just the way it is. And I haven't had to change an awful lot. The only maybe things I've had to change is saying things like now or just now.
I'm not here now. Well, but now is it just now? Don't do that or something. Is it that is it that how you use it?
Well, in South Africa, now, just now, it could mean the same thing in a little bit, or it's not happening.
Well, I think those affectations. I said that's part of your authenticity. Is that I say I feel similarly as a Welshman. in living in England, and I've lived here since the best part of it's nearly 40 years now, I think. And my accent, I still think my Welsh accent is an asset, always have done. It's interesting. I don't think, and I don't know whether it's a male female thing here. But you mentioned that imposter syndrome that I have heard about. But I just wonder as to whether, I said, I think many men wouldn't have those concerns. They would automatically think, I'm going to smash it. I'll be great. It'll be super. I don't know whether your husband is of that type, but I'd say I have a daughter in IT. She would probably be like yourself there. I'm not good. I don't think I can do the kind of different persona, different way of thinking that might be more gender based more than anything else. I don't know, but I feel sympathetic to anyone, as I said, feeling that way. As I said, coming over and wondering, will they accept me? Will I be seen as what I am? I mean, it's as I say, it's a very nice thought. I'm sympathetic to it. Um,
I think it's a
but
human thing, isn't it? I mean, everybody wants to feel like they can fit in, and they don't stand out like a sore thumb. And I do think it's a human thing. But at the end of the day, I also think that, when you're yourself, people know that through any culture.
correct.
Like, when people are putting on and trying to be or pretending to know more than what they do, I think it's important to know where your limitations are and call them out. But at the same time, to maybe not feel like you have to undermine your own abilities just to fit in. I think come as you are, and you'll soon find out whether people accept you or not. And I have to say, the UK market has been extremely gracious to me.
Super.
It's been an extremely great and rewarding ride, and I've loved every minute of working with all different types
Mm,
of
mm,
characters
mm,
and
mm,
people. And at the end of the
mm,
day, we remain, I suppose, the same. We all have requirements that we need, needs to be met, and requirements that we're looking for. And from a
mm,
sales
mm,
perspective, that's what a salesperson, I suppose, is looking to solve for, is
mm, mm.
finding where can we help and fill the gap that's
And
needed.
that's just to say that's the work side of it. But again, that's only part of your life, as I said. But it sounds like the move has been a great success, which is
Mhm.
fantastic. Because I suppose there are some doubts there as to whether it will work. And again, oddly enough, if you're saying it was 4 years ago,
Mhm.
mid COVID, then was it? It was 2020 or 2021, which was a very strange period in many respects. So no, I'm pleased for you. So can we move on then onto the not onto rugby? We'll pass on that one, okay? But coming onto the masters,
Mhm.
specifically cyber law. So it's not a cyber security. It's not a degree. It's not a degree in cybersecurity as such. It is cyber law. So can you just expand on that a little?
Yeah, of course. Actually, before I fell into cybersecurity, um, I've always loved law. I've always been fascinated with it. My husband will say it's because I like to argue a lot. Um, but
Well,
I've always been fascinated with it, more on the criminal side of law. And I think I've never studied. When I left school, I did a little diploma, as it's known in South Africa, maybe a certificate here. Nothing major. I really didn't want to go study like a undergraduate degree. I didn't feel I was in a very different place in my life, let's say, at that stage. However, in my late 30s, I decided I was going to do a degree in law. And so I did my first law degree, which was BCom law, with the intention of specializing in cyber law at some point in my
is
life.
BCom? Was it business and commerce? Is that what that was? Right. Okay, I made the right assumption on that. Right.
Business in commerce on law. And
While
my
you were
late,
working, though, Shannon, can I ask, was that while you were working?
yeah,
So
both
that was a part time.
That was part-time, yeah. So I was working, I actually had changed three jobs when I had taken that degree. I didn't realize that that was going to happen, of course. But I was with Symantec when I signed up to that BCom law degree, and that was 2019. And then in 2021, I moved to Juniper. And then in 2022, sorry, 2019, then 2020, I moved to Juniper. 2021, I moved to Microsoft. And so every year of that 3 year degree, I was with a new company, and that was interesting. It was during COVID, so a lot of the lessons we did online, but it was extremely rewarding to come out of the back of that. And the intent was, let's do this degree in law, and we'll figure out where we can specialize in cyber law sometime down the line. Then we moved to the UK. And in 2023, the end of 2023, I was looking around for what is available while I'm here. Do I also want to maybe consider doing the rest of my law degree, specializing now in cyber law? And I found the Northumbria University, and they're offering on cyber law, a master's in cyber law, and it looked really interesting. And so I signed up. 2 years commitment, and I'm in my final year, so looking forward to closing out 2026 with the master's degree in hand.
Yeah, no, it's right, fantastic. Now, I should say that. I don't know if that works it up. So, do you pay for that? Have you had support from the companies you've worked for whilst doing it, or this is something that you invest in yourself, and you have to do it outside of your work hours? Then is it? They're not giving you time to go and study. It's all remote.
Well, I have to say, so first of all, it is something that I've paid for myself over it's an investment that I made in myself for, the BCom law as well as the cyber law. It's not funded by my company, but I see it as an investment in my time. I do have to say Microsoft is extremely supportive, so I get a lot of time to do my studies when I need to. And I manage my studies. I don't have to travel anyway. So it's distance learning still, and I attend
Yeah.
everything I need to remotely. So that helps quite a bit. But it is, an enormous amount of discipline in terms of separating an extremely busy work life with your home life, balancing that. And then obviously giving time to studies. And now, while everyone's enjoying Christmas and the festive holidays and so on, I will be working on my assignment that's
You'll
due.
be cramming. You got 10 days or whatever to kind of dedicate to it. I'm intrigued because I didn't I did a first year of a HND in computer studies back in the 1980s, but so I would never have regarded myself as a student. But you didn't study early on then, so this was you picked this up later in life. I'm imagining that is quite. I said the discipline you must have to apply must be very significant.
It is significant. It is significant. It also is it is very much a balance because you do not want to take away from, your family. You don't want to sacrifice time with your family, especially a young family. And so, I have to make sure that I'm balancing that versus also not losing my mind with so
Yes,
many
well, you're nearly there. You're nearly there now. You say you've just got it. When does it finish? It is called autumn 26 then, probably, is it?
Yeah, mid July next year is when my dissertation is due, and that will be the end of it. Well,
Super.
I
Not
say
going on to
that
do it. What might happen then?
maybe. Oh well, I don't believe that there's anything more right now. I plan on doing in law, specifically on the cyber law piece. There
Right,
are
right.
certifications that I definitely want to pursue. So I've been challenging myself to get to my CISM certification. It's a security industry certification. It's just one of the things I really wanted to get over and done with a long, long time. But then the masters came up, and then there's always
Right.
something
There's
that's
always
come up.
something else, is there?
There's
Yeah, yeah. I
always
met
something
somebody.
else.
I met somebody recently. He was either doing or had done a PhD in cybersecurity. He worked for the police, so very interesting. As I said, all the way from from that early Norton antivirus and McAfee and so on, all the way through to where you are today. But cyber law, can you just it is. So it's not the technology. It is the legalese, the regulatory frameworks, the compliance issues around it. Not so much about this type of threat or threat landscape or where vulnerabilities are, but on the legal issues themselves. Yes.
It is all the legal issues, policies, and laws that are available from a UK perspective. Obviously, I'm studying in the UK, so my degrees or the master's degree is very much focused on the UK and the EU. And yes, all the laws, law of data management. We're going to be doing AI in the next semester, so really looking forward to that. That'll probably be the EU AI Act that's
All right. Right.
out now, I believe. So yes, it's very interesting. It's completely different to what I focus. I say completely different. It's completely different in the sense that it's only to do with the laws that govern how, cybersecurity and cyber should the guardrails it should be
Right.
operating in.
Must
Which
be great to have a conversation with your a CISO, but I'm imagining you'd also have other, I don't know, the kind of legal counsel of an organization. You might have conversations there. You are elevating your advisory skills very significantly, and I'm very impressed. And on the one hand, I think, oh, it'd be nice to do something like that, but I just do not think I have the time. I'm very, very busy. As with most of us, as we get older, we get busier and busier, oddly enough. Anyway, so fantastic. I look forward to hear. I'm sure it'll be a success, and we'll pick up again on it next year. I'm gonna close off, if we can, with a question I've been asking all of the guests on this series of the Channel Zone. I'm asking each guest to pick out their favourite or most memorable corporate hospitality type event. I have a feeling we might have met on a corporate hospitality event back in the Symantec era. But if you can pick out your favourite or most memorable corporate hospitality event, maybe a president's club or a special event for customers or partners, can you think of it, Shannon? What is your most memorable event?
Oh, wow. This is going to have to be a Beyonce event. So I had won. I can't say our team had won I can't remember the exact title of the award. It was something about sales, of course, and we got to go to Beyonce, and that was at Symantec. Um,
It was Mark Coates involved by any chance? Because as I said, he was that era in Symantec. He put a huge amount of effort and got Symantec to invest also in those rewards. But that was it was I say a great experience. So where it was a concert, was it in London or was it somewhere exotic as well? It was.
well, it was exotic for me, even though
It
it was
was.
because I was based in South Africa then.
Yes.
It was in the
Yes.
O2, and
Right.
we had tickets. I don't whatever you call them, gold
Were they
service,
VIP? Were they good? Were they really
right
good?
in front of the stage, like right in front of the stage. That was an amazing. I won't ever forget that. I suppose also because of like there was a bus that had been hired for that event, just everything around the event, and of course, going to a live concert, and loved Beyonce at that.
Yeah, fantastic. Fantastic. Well, as I said, hopefully there'll be other occasions. She's still touring, by the way, I believe, although she's not as big news as she may have been. You're talking probably, she was at her peak, was it? I mean, this is
Indeed,
say, if ever there was a
2009, I
time.
think it
Right,
was.
right.
Yeah.
So that was, yeah, pretty amazing. So fantastic. And oddly enough, the sponsor who's on behalf that I'm asking that question is in connection, and I can guarantee you that event would have been organised by In Connection and Nick Hamilton and his
I
team
believe it was
back
organized by
there. So they'll
Anthony.
be really pleased when we cut this down into a little kind of clip on what they call memories that matter, because they are. I am of the opinion. You do. You've been on many of these things over the years,
Mm,
probably many of them, but
mm,
some of them do stick. I think it's whether it is a concert. For me, it's things like, having been on the Orient Express, things I would never have done. And instead, if you
mm.
think about it, as an individual living in South Africa, living anywhere, you would never have bought a ticket or been able to get a VIP ticket to a Beyonce concert and made that kind of journey. It would never have happened otherwise. So it's a wonderful part of the sales world as well. I think that those types of rewards are there. I wouldn't say they're commonplace. They were probably more
Mm.
commonplace in the past, but it's great that they're there.
It's
So
great that they're there, and it's a perfect it is a great incentive for salespeople to go the extra mile.
yes,
There's a carrot dangling in front of your nose, and it's appealing, whatever that carrot is, you go
yes.
after it with every muster you
It would
have.
be great if Northumbria University set a similar kind of event at the end when you get your masters. But I'm sure, actually, if you think about it, the actual ceremony itself is the equivalent of that, and that'll certainly also be a memory that matters. So Shannon, I'm gonna draw a conversation to a close here and now. Thank you ever so much. I don't think the audience will have noticed, but you're suffering from a heavy cold, or they are the back end of a cold. So thanks ever so much for taking the time out of your day so close to Christmas, and also thanks. No, you did bring it up, didn't you? I was going to say thanks for not bringing up the demolition of the Welsh rugby team, but you did. You opened with it, actually. You started with it. So
Wow.
congratulations
I wouldn't go
on.
that far.
All right. Well, look, it's been great. It's been great speaking to you again, and thanks once again for your time. And we will do this again post Masters at some point in the not too distant future. Until then, all the best.
All the best. Thanks, Mark.